Hi, yeah.
Hello.
What's up? Nothing.
Just chilling.
Well, I hit my steps. I have to hit 2,000 more steps to stay in that competition. So I'm just doing laps.
Oh no.
Because usually in the daytime I do a little bit of stepping, but my afternoon got sidetracked watching Bama and then Tennessee games. So I didn't step.
Seems like Tennessee played well.
They played really well. And then after Fulkerson got hurt, they went on like a little revenge run.
Good. Florida's trash.
Florida is trash. Love to see them lose.
RTS sent me a clip of the Florida player, the Tennessee player, football players getting suspended.
For marijuana, not even anything like that big a deal.
I know. Then I sent the clip of the Florida player
being a garbage human. The first one, I was like, okay, it looks accidental. The second one was so intentional that it was horrific, like so bad. And they're saying his eye might be messed up. Further proof that Florida is dirty. Did you know the coach's brother's RAD?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Whatever. We have to beat Bama tomorrow.
That is the AD at Duke.
Yeah, I knew that. We have to beat
like an AD
Bama.
somewhere else.
Bama's one of the main guys, Primo, got hurt, so that's a good thing for us. Okay, we'll stop now. Hi, Dad. Hey, Krishna. Sandika Prabhu is leading the kirtan today.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hey, Krishna.
Hi, Krishna.
Hey, Mom. How you doing? Hi, Krishna.
That's smiling. Okay. I put the YouTube link too, so it's in our group now.
He gets angry at me now.
Who?
You ask her a question and she gets angry with me. Just don't ask her why.
Yeah, you've known that all your life. It's not news to us.
Just saying.
You should know better. 34 years, 33, 34 years, you should know now.
What?
Not to ask you why.
You all should not.
I know that. I'm agreeing. Okay. That sounds good.
Not angry at me.
I know. I never
Just kidding.
would. I know.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
और तुम इतनी जल्दी apologize
Mom,
भी
it's
मत करो।
7:30 now. 7:30. We gotta focus.
Okay, Krishna, everyone. 7:30, so we'll get started. Today's Dandaviga Prabhu's day to lead the kirtan. So, Prabhu, if you will.
Thank you, Prabhu. I will do that. But could you be my responder?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine.
Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarni.
Namaste Saraswati Devim
Prabhupada,
Gauravani Pracharine
Prabhupada,
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Prabhupada.
Astacha Deshatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarni.
Namaste Saraswati Devim
Prabhupada,
Gauravani Pracharine
Prabhupada,
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Prabhupada.
Pastacha Deshatarine.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Ananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Tandavika Prabhu. Vinanti,
Yes.
you are scheduled to sing Yashomati Nandan.
Okay.
Please sing until 8 o'clock, please. Or not sing,
Okay.
but please conclude, meaning reading the translation, everything. Conclude by 8.
Okay. Yashomati Nandana Braj Bar Nagar Gokula Ranjan Kana Yashomati Nandana Braj Bar Nagar Gokula Ranjan Kana गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विधान कालिया दमन विधान आमला हरि नाम मिय विलासा आमला हरि नाम अमिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर वर बंसी बदन सुवासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नासन ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नासन नंद गोधन रखवाला नंद गोधन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला जमुना तट पर गोपी बसन हर जमुना तट पर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप माया रास रसिक कृप माया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोदा आश्रया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोदा आश्रया जशोमति नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विधाना आमला हरि नाम मिय विलासा आमला हरि नाम मिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नासन ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नासन नंद गोधन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला जमुना तट पर गोपी बसन हर जमुना तट पर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप माया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोदाश्रया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोदाश्रया हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Jashamati Nandana Brajbar Nagar Gokul Ranjan Kana. Translation. कृष्ण मैया यशोदा के पुत्र हैं, ब्रज भूमि के दिव्य प्रेमी हैं, गोकुल वासियों को आकर्षित करने वाले कान्हा हैं, गोपियों के प्राण धन हैं, मदन कामदेव का मन हरने वाले तथा कालिया नाग का दमन करने वाले हैं। कृष्ण के ये नाम गायन करने में अत्यधिक अमृतमय आनंद देने वाले हैं। कृष्ण ब्रज के 12 वनों के अधिपति हैं तथा उनके सौंदर्य में सदैव अति नवीनता रहती है। वे मुरली बजाते हैं तथा अति सुंदर वस्त्र पहनते हैं। कृष्ण ब्रजवासियों के रक्षक तथा संपूर्ण असुर वंश का नाश करने वाले हैं। कृष्ण नंद महाराज की गायों की रखवाली करने वाले तथा लक्ष्मीपति हैं, माखन चोर हैं तथा नंद महाराज के सुंदर गोपाल हैं। कृष्ण यमुना तट पर विचरने वाले तथा गोपियों का चीरहरण करने वाले हैं। कृष्ण को अपने भक्तों से प्रेमालाप करना अति रुचिकर है। कृष्ण कृपामय हैं, राधा रानी के प्रेमी हैं, वृंदावन में सबसे कुशल नर्तक हैं तथा भक्ति विनोद के एकमात्र आश्रय हैं। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Auntie. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, can we share the screen?
Manju, can you make the screen shareable?
It's already
Yeah,
there.
it's done.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we were continuing with Shivratri glorification of Mahadev. And yesterday, we can kind of start with our slideshow started with a nice picture of Lord Shiva and Nandi. You know? And then we have this verse where describes Lord Chaitanya and his activities in Varanasi. Prabhu Yabe Yana Vishveshvara Darshane Laksha Laksha Loka Asi Mile Se Stane. When the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishveshvara, hundreds of thousands of people assembled to see him. Okay. And the Prabhupada's purport's all about how, as a Vaishnava, that we're not worshiping demigods as independently supreme. You know? So you may say, well, ultimately, we cannot describe reality. It's not something that can be understood. Somehow or other, making it impersonal, and then describing so many different demigods. And Prabhupada says, especially in the modern world, people are inventing this worship of Panchopashana, of Durga, sun god, Ganesh, Brahma, Shiva. And Prabhupada says we can also respect and worship the demigods properly. We should do it. Then Prabhupada gives the mantras for Durga. Shresti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Eka Chaiva Yasha Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ishanu Rupam Apiyasha Chachestate Sa Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Somebody want to read this, the translation? Don't be shy.
The external potency Maya, who is the nature of the shadow of the Chit, spiritual potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. Adore the primeval Lord Govinda in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself.
So this is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's translation. And as I understand, Prabhupada was very strict that nothing should be changed, maybe except, some little bit of spelling mistakes or things like that. Then, Kshiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesha Yogat Sanjayate Nahitata Pritag Astiheto Yasambhutam Apitata Samipaiti Karyan Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So somebody read translation.
Milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause, viz. Milk. Adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Sambhu is a similar transformation by the performance of the work of destruction.
So mentioning yesterday, we're trying to understand who is Lord Shiva. And if we understand yogurt, then we can have some idea of milk. If we understand milk, we have some idea of yogurt. So the relationship is very intimate, but they're responsible for different kinds of activities and different perspectives. Bhashvan yatashma sakaleshu nijeshu teja sriyam kiya prakatyatyapitadvar atra Brahma yo esha jagaranda vidhana karta govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami.
I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world. Just as the sun manifests a portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear such names as Suryakanta.
So it's a separated subjective portion. Whew. That's a very sophisticated term. And probably in the purport, Bhakti Siddhanta gives more explanation of the position of Brahmaji. Again, our point is that the modern world is dominated by this, gyan process, direct experience of things, and then using certain kinds of mathematics, which is very much based upon Euclid's basic principles, which are, of course, thousands of years old. And of course, is where does the inspiration come from science? And that's something which is discussed, but they themselves say it's not actually a part of science. the inspiration comes, the intuition comes, the insight comes, and then sometimes very direct experiences of this. People having it when I think it was Ponkare, or somebody was stepping off of a bus, and from the time he stepped off the bus and touched the ground, he had the whole insight, the icon, the bhava, the consciousness was delivered to him to how to see one problem. And they said it took him like 6 hours to go through and just, write it all out in like a linear form and explain it like that and so on. So Brahma, is in relationship. All the demigods have their specific potency, and understanding them, of course, then we can understand the material nature to many degrees. But we've already talked about how, Durga, and all of them are being presented in terms of their transcendental position, not as independent personalities. And then, Ya Parapalava Yogam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvandve Paranama Samaye Saganadiraja Vignan Vihantum Alamasha Jogot Trayasya Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
I worship the primal Lord Govinda. Ganesh always holds his lotus feet upon the pair of cumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress in the three worlds.
So Guru Kripa Swami wanted to start worshiping a deity of Ganesh to increase his Sankirtan and collections in Japan. Baba told him, no, you should worship the 6 Goswamis by chanting the Goswami Astaka every day, because they remove the obstacles in the path of advancement in devotional service. Whereas Ganesh will also remove obstacles for you going to hell. He just removes obstacles. That's his job, the devatas and so on. So, but yes, if we Prabhupada saying here that we can worship the demigods on these principles and chanting these mantras, then it's very clear. On his two tumule, his 2 lumps on his forehead, he keeps the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev, remove obstacles. So in that sense, we can ask him to remove obstacles in our own service. And finally, Ya Chaksharesa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Surya Suramurtur Asai Shateja Yashajnaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
The sun full of infinite effulgence, who is the king of all the planets and the image of the good soul, is like the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time.
So of course we say this is 5 o'clock. It means that the sun is passed to a certain point. And of course there's so much regularity, there's so many very, very ancient prehistoric monuments with, you can't figure out how they got there, everything else, like in the highlands in Mexico or the pyramids in Egypt, like the Stonehenge in England. And they all go on like that, Angkor Wat. And they're all very, very much aligned to different solar activities, solstices, the way the sun shines, so many things like that. So astronomy has always been, a source of inspiration and practical knowledge for cultures like that. And how do they have such sophisticated knowledge? We know in Jaipur, of course, there's some instruments for locating the position of the stars and everything else. And they haven't got to be very sophisticated, to come up with very practical, accurate, calculations. And if you become a seafaring nation or even traveling across continents, then to be able to orient yourself and find out exactly where you are in terms of longitude and latitude. So there are different logical systems combined with empirical measurement. And they show, as Sir Isaac Newton was showing, that there's tremendous organization. And the sun is, of course, one of the greatest representations and influences in our lives. But what we see, but also for the invisible rays that are striking us, and also for the effects of gravity. When the moon and the sun are together, if they're above us, they just lift the water in our body. We can see how much they move the water in the ocean. Well, the body is 75% water. So you feel light and everything else. And imagine the exact opposite. When you're on the opposite side of the earth and you're everything being pulled down, you're dull-headed and everything else. So all these things are pointing out how the demigods are manifest in our lives. Okay. So then we started looking, where we stopped yesterday, a little survey of how Lord Shiva is being presented within the Bhaktivedanta library. And in Bhagavad-Gita, to start with, we have Bhagavad-Gita 11:15. And both of these verses are from the Vishvarup, so universal form, what's it called? Darshan, something. The view of the universal form. Arjuna sees everything at one time and one place, from the chariot. And other than that, we didn't find much mention of Lord Shiva in Bhagavad Gita. But here it's very clear. 11:15. Pashami devam stabadaiva dehai sarvanks tata bhuta vishesha sangam brahmanamisham kamalasanam stam vishinksha sarvam urugangscha divyam. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Lord Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents. So it's very clear that he sees these things. These are all a part of Krishna's Virat Rup. And it very clearly stated that within that, he's seeing Brahma and Shiva. Rudraditya Vasavo Yecha Sadhya Vishvesh Vinao Marutas Chosh Mapascha Gandharva Yaksha Surasera Sangha Vikshanti Tvam Vishmitaschaiva Sarve. He continues, all the various manifestations of Lord Shiva. And it says right there, Rudraditya. Rudra, the Aditis, the Vasus, the Sadyas, the Vishvadevas, the two Ashvis, the Marus, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. So it's not exactly like Lord Shiva. Rudra is a competitor. He himself is also made Krishna's Virat Rup. Bhagavad Gita as it is. What am I doing here? I'm pushing the wrong button. Okay. Let's go down here. What happened here? Okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam, looking through it, first canto, second canto, we don't find much about Lord Shiva. But in the third canto, status quo, chapter 14 is a whole section about the origin of Hiranyaksha and how they were children of Diti and everything else. And so this chapter is the pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Check text 8. Text 8. Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kasyapa, the son of Maricha, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. 22 to 29. Even though it is not possible, he tells her, to repay you, I shall satisfy your sex desire immediately for the sake of begetting children. But you must wait for only a few seconds so that others may not reproach me. This particular time is most inauspicious because at this time the horrible looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord of the Ghosts are visible. Lord Shiva, the king of the ghosts, is sitting on the back of his bull carrier, travels at this time accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare. Lord Shiva's body is reddish, and it is unstained, but he is covered with ashes. His hair is dusty from the whirlwind dust of the burning crematorium. He is the younger brother of your husband, and he sees with his three eyes. Lord Shiva regards no one as his relative, yet there is no one who is not connected with him. He does not regard anyone as very favorable or abominable. We respectfully worship the remnants of his food stuff, and we vow to accept what is rejected by him. So he's a younger brother of Kashyapa, but Kashyapa taking the remnants of his food and accepting what is rejected by him. Okay. And of course, this traveling of Lord Shiva is in a more subtle platform. When these things come, they're like, they're subtle and attitudes towards things, ways of seeing things, and impulses to move our bodies in a certain way, and even stimulation of the gross material elements happens when Lord Shiva is traveling like this. Although, and of course, this is the evening sandhya, very, very inauspicious time. So it's very, very important to be engaged in chanting and taking shelter of holy places during these sandhyas. Although no one in the material world is equal to or greater than Lord Shiva, and although he is unimpeachable, his unimpeachable character is followed by great souls to dismantle the mass of nescience, he nevertheless remains as if a devil to give salvation to all devotees of the Lord. Unfortunate, foolish persons, not knowing that he is engaged in his own self, laugh at him. Such foolish person engaged in maintaining the body, which is eatable by dogs, which with dresses, ornaments, garlands, and ointments. Demigods like Lord Brahma also follow the religious rites observed by him. He is the controller of the material energy, which causes the creation of the material world. He is great, and therefore his devilish characteristics are simply imitation. In text 33, jumping ahead here. O son of Bharata, Diti after this went nearer to her husband, because her face, so this is after they had relations. Her face lowered because of her faulty actions. She spoke as follows. The beautiful Diti said, my dear Brahmana, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, the Lord of all living entities, because of the great offense I have committed against him. Let me offer my obeisances, my respectful obeisances, unto the angry Lord Shiva, who was simultaneously, my goodness, for the very ferocious great demigod and the fulfiller of all material desires. He is all auspicious and forgiving, but his anger can immediately move him to chastise. Let him be pleased with us, since he is my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister Sati. He is also the worshipable Lord of all women. He is the personality of all opulence and can show mercy towards women who are excused even by the uncivilized hunters. Maitreya said. The great sage Kassapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, and she desired the welfare of her children in the world. The learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, because you're being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Clickety click clack. O haughty one. O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to the three worlds. They will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and enrage the great souls. At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts. The learned Kashyapa said, because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahlad, of your son, Hiranyakasipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the personality of Godhead. The sage Maitreya said, hearing that her grandson would be a great devotee, that her sons will be killed by Krishna, Diti was highly pleased in mind. Very, very strange society. So here a very nice picture of Hiranyaksha and Lord Varaha, having a whole fight with tumult and carrying on, like the supreme martial arts movie. So that's in the third canto. Then if we go ahead in the fourth canto, there's chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the whole story of the Daksa Yagna. And of course, in the beginning, Lord Shiva and his followers are cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Then there's a whole discussion between Shiva and Sati, which gives a whole different perspective, and more discussions of Lord Shiva. And then Sati goes to the sacrifice and quits her body. And then when he hears this, Shiva becomes so disturbed. So he sends a giant demon, Virabhadra, to destroy the sacrifice, and everybody gets their teeth knocked out and so many things. Then Lord Brahma takes the demigods, and he himself is afraid to see Lord Shiva, and he offers prayers like that. So all these things, of course, are weeks of study. Canto 6, prescribed duties of mankind, Manukata. Chapter 17, Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu. Yeah, we're missing one here. Sixth canto is Priyavata Agnida Panarbabu. Yeah, I think it is. Okay. So there's a story of Vritasura and how he was a great demon, and how he was killed by Indra. But how can this be? How can he was a great devotee, but he was acting like a demon in the body of a demon? The story of Vritasura is in the Rig Veda also. So the backstory is that Maharaj Chitraketu was cursed by Mother Parvati. So there's a little description there of how they met Lord Shiva and his activities there. And also, I guess it's the sixth canto. Where is it? No, it's the fourth canto. Panar Babu. No, it's DDPP. No. Yeah, it's the fourth canto. And we missed that because that's where the demigods, the Prachetas, the sons of Maharaj Prachinibari, they go off to do austerities. They go to college, do austerities to become lawyers, doctors, engineers. So doing austerities to become qualified grihastas, do their work. And they meet Lord Shiva. He comes out of a lake, and he delivers very, very beautiful prayers for meditation by them. So there also is a very nice description of Lord Shiva, but we didn't put it in here. We missed that. Then skipping ahead, Canto 8, Lord Shiva saves the universe by drinking poison. The Mohini Murti incarnation bewilders Lord Shiva. So Canto 8 is the other, first few cantos we find Swayambhuva Manu and all his children. And Canto 8 then is the other 13 Manus. And during them, different incarnations occur, such as Hari, who saves Gajendra, Vamanadev, and then also the story of the turtle, the Lord incarnating as a turtle. And during this, everything is just what we call is churned. So of course we know that Lord Shiva is very famous, undergoing austerities to save everybody else's life. And then after it's all over, when Mohini Murti also comes out of the churning, she bewilders everybody. And Lord Shiva also wants to see that form because he's the most self-controlled, like that. But he becomes totally intoxicated, running after the Mohini Murti form of Vishnu. So he's very happy, even though he was totally bewildered that he has such a master who could fool him. 10th canto. Chapter 88, Lord Shiva saves Vrikasura. Before it was Vritasura. Vrikasura got a benediction from Shiva that anybody's head he would touch, would die. He ran after Lord Shiva. So there's some explanation of the kind of benedictions that Lord Shiva gives and how his followers should look upon the benedictions he gives them. 63, Lord Krishna fights with Banasura. He was the grandson of Prahlad, and has so many benedictions. And Lord Shiva gave him benediction that sometime he would meet somebody who would be able to give him a good fight, if he had 100 arms. So the whole story goes on, and Lord Shiva is fighting in defense of Banasura, and Kartikeya is there fighting with Pradyumna. And then finally, Krishna releases his yawning weapon. So Lord Shiva starts to yawn and doesn't want any fight anymore and goes off the battlefield. So that's in the 10th canto. 11th and 12th, we don't know. Somewhere it's a story of Tripurari and how Lord Shiva destroyed the 3 cities of the demon Tripura. Maybe someone knows where that is. Okay. So we can also, of course, discuss Acharya's position and how he actually is an incarnation of the Lord Shiva. Then, of course, the Brahma Samhita 545, which we read earlier. The verse that Prabhupada quotes about Lord Shiva being like yogurt compared to milk. And the purport to that, of course, is very, very interesting of Bhaktisiddhanta. So it's kind of maybe something we have. Anybody else have any comments here like that, ideas they want to express?
Maharaj, even Bhagavad-Gita 10th chapter also, Krishna describes his different opulences. It talks about Rudranam Shankarachasmi.
Oh, yeah. Among the Rudras, I am
Shankar, Shiva, not Shiva.
Yeah, because he expands himself as how many?
11.
11 Rudras, yeah. Their names. And amongst them, I am Shambhu.
Yesterday we were discussing why the Mahashivratri. And Tandika Prabhu was saying that Shivratri comes every month, like 2 times. Mahashivratri is the wedding of Lord Shiva with Parvati.
Oh,
it was
okay.
confirmed by Loknath Maharaj last night.
Okay.
So that way it is not just Shivratri, it is Mahashivratri.
So it's married. He's when he's married to Sati or who?
Parvati.
Parvati.
Yeah.
So Parvati is the daughter of Mount Parvat.
Yeah, Himalaya.
Yeah. So she's Hema, also Hema something, right? She has the name Hema also. Yeah. So that's when she was the daughter of the king of Manipur, I think. She was the daughter of the king of Manipur, and then she was married to Lord Shiva. It's after Sati burned herself up.
Yeah.
Huh. So on these days, you can all take shelter of Lord Shiva, who is the supreme masculine potency for strength and ability to act properly in devotional service. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. All right. So then,
no one has anything for Maharaj? Any question, comment?
Or any? I can tell one interesting story. Finish off here. I think it was the first time I went to Manipur. And I think I was the first white man to go there since the time of the British Raja or something. It was when it was a very restricted area and you had to get permission from the central government. So anyway, I was there when I came there with Bhakti Subdhamana Mars and the party. And it was Gaur Purnima. So that's like a 3-day festival in Manipur. And our party from the temple, we would go and visit all of our supporters, maybe like, the 10 places before lunch, 10 places after lunch. And we go and do a kirtan, and they have very, very beautiful mandap set up. All their houses are set up for it. And fruit organized very decoratively. Then we do nice kirtan, very nice, enthusiastic. And then they would give a check because they give donations on Janmashtami and Gopurnima for the temple. And then they would give them a souvenir book, very beautiful book of all the temple. And then we had to take some fruit. And then our guys would pull out the calendar, the map, and we go to the next place, get back in the bus. So kirtan fruit, kirtan fruit, kirtan fruit, kirtan fruit, kirtan fruit, kirtan fruit, lunch, kirtan fruit. And then we go to the temple at night. And I was staying in the library and they were trying to make chapatis for me. My God, nobody could make chapatis. They were terrible, kind of square shape. Should call it square shape, yeah. And there was nothing. I was in the library. There was nothing to read. I want to read before you go to rest. The only book available outside the locked bookcases. There's so many books behind glass I couldn't look at. It was the history of the world's greatest travel accidents. When two 747s, collided on the runway and killed 800 people. So every night, I was going to every day we were going chanting all day long, and then we'd come back and then reading about these worse my mind in the nectar of these destructions and go on the next thing. It's a very exciting program. But somehow or other, my flight was canceled, and so I'm going back, and so I kind of like just couldn't go anywhere. But across the highway, because it was like a provincial highway there into Manipur traffic. Right across was a nice little garden area and a building, kind of L-shaped, 2 stories. So I walked over, and there was a very, very nice bust of Lord Shiva, maybe like about 3 feet tall in good proportions. I was looking at it, and one man came up and he said, "Oh, hello." He said, "You're from Damodar Swami's temple across the street. Where are you from? Are you English?" "No, American." And he said, "This is my hospital." And he said, "It's especially for ladies with very, very difficult pregnancies, some danger, some complications. So it's a maternity hospital." And he said, this statue has very interesting history. He said, one time, one of the ladies started like hemorrhaging and everything else. So we just rushed her right into the operating room, myself, my assistant surgeon, my nurse. And he said, it was just obvious, we had done cut her open. He said it was just obvious we weren't going to be able to save her. And I just started chanting. I just started singing, "Oh, Shambhu, Shambhu, Shambhu," And he said the next thing I remember was, the final stitches closing her up and looking at my assistant surgeon and my nurse. And they were both just staring at me like I was going to explode or something. It's like, and he said, I asked him, "Well, what's wrong? What happened?" He said, "You don't remember?" And he said, "No." And he said, you started chanting Shambhu, Shambhu, and then suddenly it was just like Lord Shiva or somebody has entered your body and you were telling us, "Do this, Ranjur," hemostats. It's like you became a Superman, and saved her life. He said, so as a payment then, I constructed this very, very beautiful, statue of Shiva and take care of it properly and offer my respects. So yes, you can become a super surgeon. Vishnu Charan, some moment, Lord Shiva will enter your body. Okay, Hare Krishna. That's all, folks.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Hemlata. Please accept the humble obeisances. May I ask you a question? Do you have time?
Yes, at some point you've got to pay me 25 cents.
Maharaj, I have a friend who I was trying to, bring her to Krishna consciousness, and in a very subtle way, not imposing and all. And after a few years of trying to get her to chant Hare Krishna and all, she came back to me and said, "Hema, I realized that my heart is with Lord Shiva and I'm not able to, dedicate myself to Krishna." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. He is the most exalted Vaishnava. And so that's okay. You go through, you will eventually get to Lord Krishna if you're sincere with Lord Shiva." And she said, "Okay." And then, but I really wanted to know, I know as per Bhagavad-Gita, we say the destination of demigod worshippers is is the planets of demigods. So if if a person is sincere follower of Lord Shiva, he or she will go to what do you say, this Kailasha, right? Mount Kailasha, in which now I know is one of the Vaikunta planets. So now there is no death, old age, birth, and disease there either. Correct? Am I correct?
I'm a little more expert on Hanuman than I am on Shiva. But the Brahma Samhita in there, I think, is more description of Shambhu and how he's existing, outside of the material world and things like that. These are very, very elevated states of consciousness. If we can just get if I can just get my consciousness out of my stomach up to my heart, I'm doing well. Carl Jung apparently had it up into his throat. And then we get a higher pineal glands, Brahmarandra, the brain. So when we get some glimpse of these things, and by the sublime process of Lord Chaitanya's thing, we can see what Lord Shiva's position is sometimes, and so forth. But I would say a very, very nice analogy comes to mind is that the Yamadutas, they were about to take Ajamil's soul, his subtle body, off to hell. They met the Vishnu Dutas. They went back and they were really disturbed. They were really a little angry at Yamaraj. He said, "Hey, come on, we've been serving you, and we always thought you were the supreme, and now we got defeated," like that. And they're about to, commit suicide. They're so disturbed. Just how many goddamn controllers are there in this universe anyway? Like that. They're just like, very gross guys, And then Yamaraj said, "Well, hey, calm down, guys. What happened? What happened?" He said, "Oh my goodness, why?" I said, "I've been trying to tell you this all along, but you didn't want to hear it. And now you've seen for yourself." So everybody's different, but maybe that's, what's happening with her too, is that she doesn't really want to, serve God, but wants service from God, association, to enjoy the company of God. Okay, but if somebody is sincere, then they'll start off with Kali and Bhaira, they'll offer their marijuana, they'll be doing dances in crematoriums, so many things described. But if they do those, then they'll be elevated. Then they'll come to Durga, and, finally to Shiva and Parvati, which is worship is almost like you say, like Vishnu. So that depends on the sincerity. Then they go to different levels. You say different lokas, and some of those lokas are in between material and spiritual world. And finally, Sadashiva, as we understand, is Vaikuntha deity. But even there, a little different. And so then depending, staying with Sadashiva, or else maybe then also by promotion, and Lord Shiva is encouraging them. No, you go ahead and worship Shriman Narayan, like that. So it depends on different consciousness people have.
Okay, so basically, let them continue on their journey and find their way back to Krishna.
Well, we
eventually.
Always trying to encourage them to take the direct path, because these other paths in Kali Yuga are not so good.
Yeah.
Encouraging them. Yeah.
Yeah, like we had this pastime of Ramanuja trying to bring Govinda back to Vaishnavism. It was very beautifully done by Sri Shailapurna, but we are not so empowered to, change the heart of Shaivites to come to Krishna consciousness.
You'll find many people. One time I was at a program in Seattle, and Swayambhuva Manu was, his wife were hosting us, myself and one other devotee. And we're chanting before Mataji just finished the cooking. Suddenly we realized before we become devotees that Swayambhuva Manu had been a Hindu, other devotee had been a Muslim, and I had been a Christian. Hey, well, why did we all come? Wow, because Prabhupada. We felt, being sincere in our own traditions, we realized, no, Prabhupada's the best Muslim, Prabhupada's the best Shaiva. Nobody loves Shiva like Prabhupada, So yeah, we can. They can go, but Prabhupada and other people, we can direct them, we can help them. But yeah, the magic is done by Lord Shiva. The magic is done by Prabhupada.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, no questions, no comments. So just a quick reminder before we move on to the next part of the program. Tomorrow's program starts at a regular time, 8 o'clock. So be on time. Now, Amit Bey, or I guess Rachna Didi, are the girls available to sing the Nishinga prayer?
Namaste Narasingaya.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Pranadinadidaine. Hiranyakashipurvaksha. Shilatankanakalai. Ito Nrsimha Parata Nrsimha. Yato yato yami tato Nrsimha. Gahe Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha. Narasingha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Tava Kare Kamala Vare Nakamadbhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tava Kare Kamala Vare Nakamadbhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev. Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha Dev. Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj. Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj, Jaya Pranam Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. नरसिंह भगवान की जय. हरे कृष्णा हरे बोल.
Thank you, ladies. So if everyone will go ahead and unmute themselves, we'll recite the Vaishnava Pranam prayer.
पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।